What's up, guys? James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com, and another year of gaming has gone by. In my opinion, a little faster than ever, it seems, and each year we sort of complain about how bad the current year was for the games that came out. So I might as well not break tradition and say that 2015 was pretty rough for the free-to-play industry. In fact, some of the best games that came out this past year were games that either transitioned from buy-to-play or made some sort of triumphant comeback. But like always, at the end of the year, the team at MMOHuts looks over the best free-to-play games that launched, or made it into an open beta-like state at least, to give you guys our opinions on what was best. And this time around, we decided to go with the top 15. So, without further delay, let's take a look at the best free-to-play games of 2015, starting out with number 15, Echo of Soul. So if you're looking for that classic MMORPG experience, then look no further. Echo of Soul has exactly everything you need. Fan service, cool emotes, the same combat that you've seen before in the past, cute anime girls, and even a creepy demon or two. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't exactly reinvent the wheel. It takes the traditional tap targeting combat system, gender-locked and standard class experience, and polishes it up to a higher degree than normal. It's mostly casual, but still focuses on team cooperation towards the end game, especially with no dedicated healing class. PvP and guild versus guild is another valuable aspect, and that's actually available to players as early as level 10. So the game is really easy to get into, and it's decent enough to enjoy for a little while, at least until something more innovative comes along. Sort of like this next one, also published by Area. Number 14 is Dragomon Hunter. So I've got to be honest, I was a little bit more excited about this game before it launched, knowing that it was an X-Legend game, than I was after playing it for the first time. But a lot of players seem to have received exactly what they were looking for. Playing off the Monster Hunter and Pokemon concept, Dragomon Hunter is an anime-style MMORPG that lets you fight, capture, sorta, and collect creatures that you can then use in battle as mounts, sometimes, craft gear out of, and even use to protect your own personal ranch and hometown from the larger Dragomon invasions. The idea for this game is really cool for sure. The execution, not so much. When they add in and tweak some of the existing features, I think the game could be that much better. As the game is now, it deserves a spot on this list for its small spark of innovation. Otherwise, there are plenty other MMORPGs that 2015 had to offer. Now, only if they could combine the monsters from this game with the tanks in the next title. That would actually be pretty epic. Number 13 on the list is Armored Warfare. It's very easy to see that Obsidian Entertainment has put a lot of effort into this title. The short time frame that Armored Warfare has been in development and its testing phases, it has already caught up with, and in most cases passed, every aspect of its competitors, World of Tanks and War Thunder. This game covers more of the modern military hardware from the 1950s to slightly into the future using the latest technology on the battlefield, whereas World of Tanks, as an example, starts out with the historical tanks of the early 1900s all the way up to the 1950s. Now, the part I like most about Armored Warfare is the class-style organization and roles of the vehicles. This gives each type of tank specific abilities in a sense that adapt them to their role better. So basically, they've taken the traditional concepts of classes in MMORPGs and applied them to tank types. Pretty clever. Not only that, but the newly added PvE mode has just become as popular as the PvP. Kind of like playing Arena and Smite, I suppose. Definitely hits the spot if you're looking for a faster-paced, fresh taste on the warfare genre, and likewise, World of Warships comes in at number 12. When it comes to World of anything coming from wargaming, you typically know what to expect. Well, not this time around. They threw a curveball and changed it up. Relying heavily on class-based ship tactics, World of Warships, in my opinion, raised the bar for warfare-based games, much less just naval warfare. I've got to say, nailing the graphical details on tanks is hard enough, but nailing them on historical warships with so much more detail is on an entirely different level of design. And to me, the gameplay itself is so much more exciting than the other war games. Timing torpedoes to collide with your targets puts you on the edge of your seat every single time. You'd think, seeing that you're dealing with relatively slow-moving warships, the gameplay would be equally slow, but that's definitely not the case. You've got faster gameplay here than World of Tanks on larger maps with so many more projectiles and objects flying around, it's crazy. Now, I've said this in the past, if you haven't tried this game out yet, you're in for an entirely new experience than you might think you're going to get. It's definitely worth a spot on this list, despite being in a more niche genre. Unlike this next game. Number 11 is Creativerse. Okay, so from the looks of things, the first thing that comes to mind is free-to-play knockoff of Minecraft, and honestly, Looks can be deceiving. While several of the systems are basically the same with a little added flair, after playing the game, players came to realize that it's actually kind of an upgrade. Almost like a cross between Minecraft and Ark Survival Evolved. So clone it may look like, but that just makes it easier to get into. The crafting system in the game is really what sets it apart from other voxel-based games. Instead of heavily relying on a wiki in order to figure out recipes and how to get materials, Creativerse integrates this into the game itself with unlockable upgrades and hints and clues for ways to gather new materials. They even have a blueprint system for new or younger players as an example to help them build awesome looking structures in a sort of holographic block placing guide. All they have to do is find the materials. It's definitely got a futuristic approach to the genre. It just transitioned over to open beta from early access, and according to the developers, we've still got plenty of features to look forward to. Another impressive and unique take on the genre is Nosgoth at number 10. Having been in beta for a good part of 2014 and releasing early in 2015, I've got to say that Nosgoth is one of my personal favorites for this past year. Nothing quite like getting into a bloody fight between vampires and humans, especially since the playstyle for each side consists of completely different strategies. The new classes they've released over this past year have been great additions to the game, in my opinion, and yeah, I kind of wish they diversify it a bit more with a flood of new abilities and weapons for all of the classes, vamps and humans alike. You'll probably agree with me here. New game modes would also be nice as well, but the competitive scene is getting bigger and better, which is good to see. It'll lead to more options for players as a result. This is one of those games that will gain more traction as it matures in age. Trust me when I say you'll like the way Nosgoth ends up looking in 2016. Also a personal favorite of mine, Brawlhalla is number 9. It's always tricky when a game developer takes concepts that work in one successful game in the past and tries to reinvent them without overcomplicating them or making it a direct clone. That's pretty much the case with Brawlhalla. If you're a fan of any of the Super Smash Bros. Games, Brawlhalla takes those fundamental mechanics, makes it super balanced for fair competition, and makes it free to play on PC with controller support. Talk about quick and satisfying gameplay sessions. This game has the same positive aspects as playing an old school platformer fighting game with friends. The game is definitely free to play and lets you play how you want. High score single player, chaotic free-for-alls, crazy minigames with friends, or competitive PvP on the ranked ladder. Best of all, the cash shop is purely cosmetic, and all of the characters are available for free from the get-go. This game goes to show that sometimes a simple design can go a long way if proven successful in the first place. Sometimes devs like to do what they know works, and this next game is very familiar with that concept as well. Dungeon Fighter Online lands in at number 8. Back in action and better than before, DFO developer Neopal took matters into their own hands and decided to relaunch and publish the game themselves globally in 2015. Not only that, but they've completely revamped the game, introducing new classes, changing up the starting content, making the UI even better with plenty of convenience features like being able to turn in all of your quests from the menu, just to name a few. Recently, they've released patch after patch introducing the awakenings for existing and new classes alike, and they've almost caught up with the Korean version of the game. Sure, the game might have originally come out in 2009, but it's hard to beat that classic DFO experience, and now that it's being constantly updated and managed by its own developer, it's easily one of the best games to come out of, or at least make a comeback in 2015. The game that always seems to remind me of what Bakerman Brad does to my downstairs bathroom is up next. Number 7 is none other than Dirty Bomb. So I've got to say, it's been a little while since we've seen a fast-paced, Twitch-based FPS game do well and not be considered a rehashed clone from the day it was announced. Not Dirty Bomb, not this time. Splash Damage and Nexon thought a little harder when it comes down to the game mechanics. Or at least a class-style merc system with collectible loadout cards. Not quite as extreme with the class-based gameplay as, say, Overwatch or Battleborn, Dirty Bomb still offers enough unique abilities with its mercs to make or break the team-based gameplay. The only thing it needs to work on, according to players, is a way to report and kick hackers more effectively. Implement that and you've got a kick-ass, free-to-play shooter that's highly competitive, second only to buy-to-play shooters like CSGO and, you know, the other ones. Taking another shot at innovation this year, we have Devilian at number 6. Now this is a game we're fortunate to have to break up the standard MMO repeat stream we seem to get into. Devilian is an MMORPG, action RPG hybrid, a unique genre that usually only sees 1 or 2 new games a year at most, and that alone justifies a spot on this list. Now, to be clear and honest, Devilian isn't going to steal away fans of Diablo 3 or Path of Exile for that matter, but unlike those two, Devilian offers a more casual free-to-play action RPG experience that's a bit more accessible and open world, coupled with the social aspect of your standard MMORPGs. The game is developed by some of the same developers on Terra from Bluehole Studios, so it still offers that dark, gritty, fan-servicey, and fun experience for players. So if Path of Exile seems too daunting with its massive skill tree and hardcore action RPG gameplay, Devilian is a solid alternative with plenty of growth opportunities on top of that. But speaking of breaking away from the norm, Heroes of the Storm claims number 5. When all other Dota-style games focus on the uniqueness of their champions in order to stand out, Heroes of the Storm does not only that, but also changes the meta entirely with various battlegrounds that keep the match objectives fresh for players. So essentially, you're playing a different game mode variant every match you play, seeing that they have 10 different maps and counting, each with their own unique objectives and mechanics. Plus, it's got a really cool in-game progression system with selectable abilities and ultis. Not only that, but this game ties in famous characters from all of your favorite Blizzard games into one place. Seeing how Kerrigan or Zeratul from StarCraft handles up against Diablo in a fight is pretty cool in itself. Catering to casual and competitive players alike, Heroes of the Storm is definitely a survivor in the ongoing battle of the MOBAs. And while we're talking casual, Trove hits the chart at number 4. Trove has become a thing of beauty over this past year. It's the best game you can get when it comes to a genuine voxel sandbox MMO in the free-to-play market. There's just no way to even compare it to other games anymore, seeing that it delivers that true MMORPG experience with open worlds that are shared by public players. Now, there is a lack of permanence. Personal housing in the open world is portable, randomly generated on demand, leaving only the hub worlds and the clubs as the only true permanent fixtures in the game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. This leads to the fact that the game is constantly changing and stays exciting for all types of players. There are over a dozen classes now available and more are always being added in. Not to mention, a lot of the game is player-generated content, especially the cosmetic items like weapons and gear. In addition to plenty of instances and raids, they've recently introduced PvP arenas, so plenty more content is headed to the game on that feature alone. Trove is great for the hardcore and casual player alike, just as long as you're not too sick of the block-based voxel games. Making it to the top games of 2015, we have WildStar at number 3. We've had our eye on WildStar since its announcement in 2012, thinking the game was going free-to-play from the start, and unfortunately that wasn't the case, but it didn't really hold up to its hype either way, with most of the content focused around late-game action, and when players got there, they were again a bit underwhelmed to say the least. Luckily for us in the free-to-play market, we get to see the game try to make a comeback at the price of nothing, and so far we've liked what we've seen. With little to no restrictions on the newly transitioned free-to-play model, WildStar still offers players super fun combat, a crazy variety in classes and playstyle options, not to mention customization, the best player housing available in an MMORPG to date, and for the most part, Borderlands-style humor. Well, almost. The free-to-play transition also leveled out the content, added new content, tweaked some of the in-game systems, and sped up the level progression, all for the good. Slap on a well-designed play your way and don't take content away from the non-premium player business model, and WildStar has become a go-to game for free-to-play MMORPG fans. That being said, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. The second best game from 2015 is Guild Wars 2. Needless to say, 2015 was a huge year for Guild Wars 2, going from the Heart of Thorns expansion announcement at PAX South in January to its transition to free-to-play in August and expansion launch in October. Guild Wars 2 was already a top-quality MMORPG before it went free-to-play, offering a large amount of lore and gameplay innovation and regular episodic content that expanded and changed the game world around its players. Honestly, there was no real need for ArenaNet to make the game free-to-play. There was no struggle there like other games that had to make that transitional leap. So now all that awesome content is available to everyone with very little restrictions. Although Heart of Thorns has to be purchased in order to access the new zones, gliding, and the game's first raids, Guild Wars 2 is still working on expanding its in-game content, including a new PvP season with a better focus on the competitive experience. While a lot of fans still have some legitimate complaints with ArenaNet handling the cash shop, the free-to-play transition, and of course, the cost of the new expansion, Guild Wars 2 is undoubtedly one of the best MMORPGs you can get your hands on for free. But finally, MMOHuts' #1 free-to-play game of 2015 goes to Skyforge. This is the perfect MMORPG for anyone and everyone who has ever wanted to feel like a god among men. Players can actually live the life of an immortal being, protecting the world as one of 13 different and truly unique classes, each of which can be unlocked on a single character and can be switched to on command. Unlike a crap ton of other MMORPGs we've seen in the past, Skyforge takes a totally different approach to the traditional class and role systems by letting players sustain their own health in various ways, allowing them to take on all types of challenges, either solo or with a group, even without the use of a dedicated healing class. The game offers a highly sought-after action combat system, amazing visuals with a nice blend of fantasy and sci-fi elements, built-in social features that mimic real-world social media, and innovative in-game content. Of course, it has its drawbacks just like any other game, but Skyforge is definitely taking a fantastic new approach to free-to-play MMORPGs. I don't know about you, but we'd love to see more of that in 2016. So yeah, like I said, 2015 was a bit rough, but between the games that made a comeback and or transition to free-to-play, there were definitely some that stood out as being really good games. I can say we've got a decent amount of fantastic games to look forward to in 2016, starting with Blade and Soul launching in the West this month, January 19th. Stay tuned for our most anticipated games of 2016 video coming to you guys really soon. Get all the information you might need about the best games of 2015 from the links in the description below. Be sure to let us know what your favorite games of 2015 were in the comments. Stay hooked on MMOHuts.com, and until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.